Since 2015, the Forbes Women Africa Leading Women Summit has brought together female leaders from across the world to discuss issues affecting women in honor of International Women's Day. This year is the 9th edition of the much anticipated annual event, which will be held on March 8th at Johannesburg's Emperor's Palace. This year's theme, Women Unscripted, Powering Innovation and Impact in Africa, will delve into African creativity as well as the power of the female collective. It will also highlight breakthrough technologies and artificial intelligence. I am Kiamogetse Mosipele, and join me in conversation as we take a look at what lies ahead of this year's summit. Now, what began as a small gathering of 100 women in a Johannesburg ballroom in 2015 has since expanded into a much anticipated annual summit that fills entire convention centers, drawing attendees from all over Africa and beyond. Now, first up, we have Renuka Methil, the Managing Director of Forbes Women Africa, with her insights on shaping the narrative of the Forbes Women Africa Leading Women Summit since its inception. Welcome, Renuka, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, this event is arguably considered one of Africa's biggest female empowerment conferences. I am here to ask you, what can people expect this year, but more importantly, what will make this year's event a little bit different than the others?
Thank you so much for that question. So Forbes Africa has completed 13 years on the continent. And the summit is, it's going to be the 9th installment of the summit on the 8th of March this year. And, you know, if you follow the content of the magazine, the summit itself mirrors, it's like the pages of the magazine, but in 4D format, you know, in live 4D format. It's a visual representation of everything that goes into the magazine. So, you know, as with the magazine, even the summit, you start on a blank canvas, a blank slate, and then you populate with people, with images, with color, with storytelling. So the format of the summit itself is storytelling. And by nature of being a mirror of the magazine, editorial content of the summit is what makes it different from the rest of the conferences in Africa, because it's got a very strong editorial merit-worthy content, which means the people you profile there are the heavy hitters in Africa. These are the big names in business, in politics, in civil society, in arts, in music, in technology. And these are some of the biggest and brightest names that will come to the continent. And, you know, they speak about how the discourse has been kept up on women's empowerment. They will speak about how technology is being used to upskill women and to actually lead the equality conversation forward on the continent. So the summit itself, in its 9th year, it is testament to the evolution of Forbes Africa itself. It is testament to the female power that we have on the continent. And these are the women disrupting the status quo. And that's what separates us from the rest of the events that you have. And if you look at it, you know, this is also in a way, the summit marks the return of the conference to Johannesburg, because we've had it, the last time we had it in Johannesburg was in 2018, then we had it in Durban subsequently for 2 years, and we had 2 years of the pandemic where you know, it went to a virtual format, and then we had our last year, the summit was in Pretoria. So this actually marks the return of the summit to Johannesburg, and there's a lot to look forward to. It's going to be absolutely fantastic and phenomenal, as the title suggests, Women Unscripted, Powering Innovation and Impact in Africa.
Now, speaking on women empowerment, especially women's economic empowerment in Africa, what aspects about this topic are you eager to explore through this event?
So economic empowerment, I think that's it's a good question that you've asked. It's a very important part of the conversation, because at the end of the day, we need people, from women in all walks of life, to be equally benefiting from the change that's happening in society. And as they say, ideas can't win if they are not heard. And these are the people that we bring to the fore to speak about how they have managed to effect change, how they've made it. They may have all suffered heartbreaks and failures, but the qualities that we want to capture in the summit are, words like temerity or tenacity, the ambition, drive, adrenaline. How have they used all of this to make their dreams possible? Some of these people have started with nothing as entrepreneurs. If we're talking about economic empowerment, if we're talking about, even financial inclusion, getting women to be banked, or how female creatives, for example, have been able to use their leverage off their talent and their social media numbers to get to where they are. So there's a lot of storytelling that you will see, and you'll also hear from women in government. There's an entire panel on family businesses and how women are spearheading them. There's a panel on the C-suite. We've got a creative panel. We've got a sex, money, and a power panel. We've got a generational dynamics panel. So I think through all of this, through all these conversations, there's one unified theme that'll emerge, and that is, how is the modern African woman making it? How is the modern African woman overcoming the setbacks? And what are the lessons she can give to other younger people in the audience?
Lastly, can you tell us any big names that will be in attendance at this year's conference?
I've got some incredible names to mention here. Obviously, it's still work in process. We're still finalizing more names, but at this moment, I can tell you that Sabrina Elba is going to be our keynote speaker. We're going to do a keynote interview with her, and she's, as you all know, more than the fact that she is a famous Hollywood icon's wife. In her own way, she has incredible credentials. She works with the UN. She works a lot. There's a lot of work that she's putting in Africa, and she's a model herself. So we're really looking forward to hearing her speak. We've got supermodels like Flaviana Matata. We've got Harriet Paul. We've got Miss South Africa. We've got a Nobel Peace Prize winner from last year, Alexandra Ramotsova. We've got the Dangote sisters, so Africa's richest man. His 3 daughters will be attending. They'll be doing a special panel on family businesses. And that's something that I'm really, really looking forward to. How do you empower the next generation, and how does the next generation embrace change and take the legacy of businesses forward? And in addition, I think if I can mention a slew of names from the music industry, from the entertainment industry, and from the world of art, we've got poets, we've got musicians, we've got Olympian athletes. There are lots of names that are coming through. We've got singer Shekinah, we've got Caster Semenya, we've got Desiree Ellis, we've got the poetess, the famous Rwandan poetess Nirere Chanel. So there's lots of names coming up, and I'm sure in the weeks to come, we'll have a galaxy of names to put forth in our speaker announcements.
That was Renuka Methil, Managing Editor for Forbes Women Africa as well as Forbes Africa. I am joined by Daniel Padiachi, Chief Marketing Officer for McDonald's South Africa. Daniel,
thank you for having me.
Lovely to have you. Just can you tell us a little bit more about your organization's decision to partner with the Forbes Women Africa Leading Women Summit this year?
So as McDonald's, this is our 2nd year partnering with the Forbes Leading Women Summit. And it was a seamless discussion, or a decision for us, because of the shared values between the 2 organizations around diversity, equity and inclusion, and women empowerment in particular. So we are proud to be a sponsor of the platform, and together as a partnership, we believe that what Forbes is doing is very recognized across the African continent, and we certainly want to be a part of it.
So you mentioned shared values centered around women empowerment. Why would you say it's important for your organization to support women?
Well, at McDonald's, we live diversity, equity, and inclusion. So out of our total staff complement, over 61% are women, 41% of women are in leadership positions. Of our franchising base, around 20% thereof are women. And therefore, we pride ourselves in supporting women in the corporate environment. That's been part of the McDonald's philosophy, our DNA. But not only women, it's about inclusion, right? We also support disabled people in our organization that are employed in our restaurants, and across the different spectrum of race, creed, color, culture.
So I appreciate some of the figures you've given, also speaking to supporting women in the corporate environment. Can I assume that McDonald's has programs specifically tailored to supporting women? And if so, care to tell us a bit about how these programs are initiated, as well as some of the key underpinnings in these programs?
Yeah, every year we have a Women's Leadership Network here in South Africa as a South African chapter. It's a global platform in the McDonald's business, and we've got a South African chapter around that. And every year we host the Women in Conversation that supports other women that are in other verticals of business to come in and talk to women in McDonald's and women across the business spectrum around what it takes to be a woman in business, and mentor and coach other women that have aspiring dreams in the business.
Thank you so much for your time, Daniel.
Thank you for having me.
That was Daniel Padiachi, Chief Marketing Officer for McDonald's South Africa, with his insights on women empowerment from one of South Africa's largest employers. Now joining me is the General Manager for Marketing, Arthi Govender. Arthi, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the show. I just want to begin, why did Air Products decide to partner with the Forbes Women Africa Leading Women Summit this year?
Okay, so thank you for having me. So Air Products has been on a journey for the past decade, specifically focusing on gender diversity. We look at inclusion, recognition, as well as women empowerment, specifically in the gas industry. And by partnering with an organization that has shown strength and growth and reach over the last 9 years, we have been aligning ourselves with a strong brand, a brand that's to be reckoned with, and this is how we perceive ourselves in the marketplace. Also, having attended the event last year, it shows that there is huge amount of research and a time spent on the topic selection. And most of the topics had significance as well as relevance. And I think relevance is key in this ever-changing world that we live in.
Now, Arthi, I really appreciate the fact that you've touched on research, and I want your insights on some of the key sectors that remain untapped by South African women, but more so what your company is doing to make sure that women enter these spaces seamlessly.
In our space in the gas industry, I think there is barriers to entry, specifically on females in the engineering and operations fields and drivers field. Recently, we employed our first female professional driver, which I'm glad to say. And I think what our company has been doing is focusing a lot on skills development, internships, graduate programs, and we've also embarked on bursary programs that actually give us a pipeline of young females entering the industry.
Forbes Women Africa Leading Women Summit has honed in a lot of influential speakers over the year, particularly speaking to women leaders in trade as well as the tech industry. Now, touching on your field, what is it that you deem is important about women representation in these spaces?
We believe that it is the collective that actually makes a difference. And although it is of utmost importance for ladies to enter the engineering field, I think we need to also honor the unsung heroes, like the administrative roles as well as the support functions. So I think for this event, it's about honoring each and every individual, and also it's being together and being a collective.
So a holistic approach to honoring the unsung heroes across all sectors. I think that's such a beautiful and apt way to wrap your participation in the summit. That was Arti Govender, the General Manager for Marketing at Air Products. From what all of my guests have had to say, this is a not to be missed and highly anticipated summit set to be held on the 8th of March 2024. The event includes 30 plus highly respected speakers from across 50 countries, with 1,000 people expected to attend. Until the 8th of March, from me, Kiamogetse Mosipili, and the team, it's goodbye for now.